Hello, boo babies and boo dolls. Welcome to Conversations Over 40. Allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Kia. So, I wanted to create a space where mature adults can come together and have like minded conversations simply about whatever comes to mind. Now, before we get started, this conversation is for educational purposes. I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion here to judge or condemn anybody. These are strictly my opinions and views. Now, with that being said, let's jump right in. So, for any of you who've been on YouTube or social media for the past couple of weeks, you have had to hear about this alleged TD Jakes situation. So, I want to personally speak on injustice that takes place in the religious constitutions. Now, if you are over the age of 40, you should be able to relate to this conversation. I'm going to take you on a journey beginning in the late 60s, and we're going to fast forward to current events. Now, as I was saying, if you're over the age of 40, you may be able to relate, or you may be familiar with this person. You may have heard his music from your great-great-grandmother, your grandmother, or your mom on a good Sunday morning getting ready for Sunday school or just getting ready for service. This person whom I speak about is Reverend James Cleveland. Well, Reverend James Cleveland was known as the King of Gospel. So he also was the mentor for the great Aretha Franklin, the late great Aretha Franklin. Now, the two of them collaborated on her 1972 best-selling to this day album, Amazing Grace. Now, for any of you that don't know, she also birthed through that album a beautiful documentary. If you've yet to see that, you should definitely check that out. And again, that documentary is called Amazing Grace. So, Cleveland was well known at that time. He had written over 400 songs and had been appeared on more than 100 albums. So he had a lot of clout back in his day. He rubbed elbows with the greats, and again, he musically, like, he was known around the world for his great gospel hits. People had a great amount of respect for James Cleveland. Personally, I feel like he abused his power, and which, we'll get into in a little bit. So, unfortunately, Cleveland died in 1991. Now, within 1 year of his death, two men filed a suit against Cleveland's estate, one being 34-year-old Andre McAsey, and the other one 22-year-old Christopher Harris. Now, both of them lived with Cleveland. Now, Andre was a part of the common law adoption, and then Harris was the foster son. Cleveland had this thing back in the day where he would take in fatherless children off the streets and give them somewhere to lay their head. So Harris was the youngest out of the two. He began his relationship when he was 13 years of age with Cleveland. Now, he did say that it was consensual and that he was not forced into a sexual relationship with Cleveland. He also stated that that had not been his first relationship with an adult male, that he had actually dabbled and had several relationships prior to Cleveland. Just let that sit for a minute. Bow our heads, and we're going to keep it moving. So, again, the two of them, they filed a suit against Cleveland's estate, but Harris didn't go out quietly. If you are familiar with the GMWA, that is the gospel music workshop that a lot of men attended back in the day. These workshops were held throughout the year, and men would gather there to, again, attend a workshop per se. But what actually was taking place were these men that was able to engage in sexual acts, be themselves, hold hands, and actually meet up with their lovers. Interesting enough, the last time that Reverend Clarence Cleveland was seen in public was at one of these workshops, and the guys say that he looked really fragile and was thin, and you could tell that his health had started to decline. So it was real bad. They said he was not even able to stand up at that time. So he went out really hard, y'all. And that's the gift that you get when you play with God. My personal opinion. So in February of 1992, his adopted son, this is Harris at the time, filed the suit, and he alleged that he had inappropriate actions with him, Cleveland that is, and that he SA'd him. And by the age of 15, Harris had infected the house in Virginia virus. Was infected with the house in Virginia virus, and that's what we consider it as on YouTube. So it's a crazy situation. Harris stated that Cleveland contracted this through same-sex liaison. And back in March of 1992, Jet Magazine did an article on the claim. So for any of you that want to back up my story, you can again revert back to the 1992 Jet Magazine article about this. Yeah, it was a crazy situation. It's unfortunate. I just find that it's sad that the church would do whatever they can to cover up because they don't want to taint his legacy. And it's just a slap in the face, I personally think, to God, because that's what it's all about. People tend to forget, like when you get up and you preaching and you speaking, you're supposed to represent God. And if somebody showed you anything different, you should definitely separate yourself from them and anything they stand for, and any of their foolishness. You still have people that will, again, try to protect someone's legacy. That's deep, you know. But I don't want to go there. I don't want to stay there too long. Again, definitely check out that 1992 Jet Magazine article. So unfortunately, he again passed in 1991, and Harris as well as Andre, they won the suit, and they was able to, I believe it was $9 million they got from the estate. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go and fast forward to decades later, 20 years to be exact, 2016. So if you are from Atlanta, you should be familiar, but if you're not, that's what I'm here for. I got you. There's a pastor, or was a pastor, by the name of Bishop Eddie Long. Let's do it. So Bishop Eddie Long, at the time, he was like the senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. He was known for his blend of materialistic worship as well as anti-gay rhetoric. I'm going to repeat that. He was also known as his anti-gay rhetoric. We'll revisit that in a little bit. So he was connected with both political leaders as well as celebrities. You know, he pretty much preached on prosperity gospel. His preaching attracted these big names and socialites as well as athletes. P.I., Charles Barkley, Deion Sanders, just to name a few. So this man was like, with everything he did, he was flashy. He was driving a $300,000 car at the time. And I know to y'all it may be because right now that's what everybody is doing. But back in that time, it was kind of, you know, I don't want to say unheard of. You know, maybe in Texas, somewhere like that, it was big for the pastors to roll big like that. But I had never heard of it. However, Bishop Eddie Long was definitely on that. Now, this place was like the place to be. You had to be in the building come Sunday morning or whenever they opened the church doors. He had over 2,500 members. So this is not just New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. This was also named, allegedly, Club New Birth. Because again, with so many members, singles would go there to try to find a mate and hook up, right? Now, Bishop, on the other hand, he felt as if he had a calling to reach men. He used the Bible to deny homosexuality. And then he had the audacity to create a ministry to deliver people from homosexuality. Then he also did a march to ban same-sex marriage. This is just, the plot thickens, honey. Y'all just listen. I don't want nobody to jump off a cliff. I want anybody that's driving to put on the seatbelt, and anyone willing to jump out a window to take 3 steps back. Now, this man had several young men come forward, and allegedly these 4 men stated that they had a whole relationship with Bishop. So this was around 2010. These young men came forward and said Bishop used his position as their spiritual daddy, right? He had these kids calling him daddy. He talked proudly about being these young men's spiritual daddy, right? He stated that he would have their moms to drop their butts, for lack of a better word, off, especially if you had a delinquent kid. Bring them to me. He said, I'll put the paddle on them. Now, he was heard quoting, and I'm quoting what he said, quote unquote, quoting Bishop Eddie Long. When I say bend over, even on Sundays, they bend over. Now, I want to pause for a minute right there. We're going to bow our heads. Now, we're going to keep it moving. So, these 4 men came to the forefront, and they said that Bishop used his position as their spiritual daddy to force them to have sexual relationships. So he used a private spiritual ceremony to mark the covenant between them. He would cite scriptures to justify their relationship. And this was a whole nother, like, they said they was teenagers when they started a relationship with this man. One of the young men, he said he was, I believe, 14 when he moved to Atlanta. And when he met Bishop, Bishop actually provided him with his phone number and said, if you have any issues, to give me a call. And he said he looked at it like, this is an old man. I'm 14. What I know, what I'm going to do with this? But he didn't realize the power that Eddie Long possessed until he had got in trouble at school. And he didn't want his mother to know about it. So he called Bishop. Now, for whatever it is he said or whatever he threatened, the teacher came to school the next day and apologized to the young man and said, please let me keep my job. So the young man seen the power that Eddie Long possessed. He was like, listen, I want to be a part of this organization. Like, to see somebody to possess that type of power, sign me up. And with that, he decided to join the church and involve himself in the youth activities that was going on. So, the sad situation at hand is he would engage in intimate acts with these young boys, right? And in exchange for these acts, he would give them money, cars, house, take them on exotic trips, buy them jewelry, etc.
I cannot get the sound of his voice out of my head, and I cannot forget the smell of his cologne, and I cannot forget the way that he made me cry many nights when I drove in his cars on the way home, not able to take enough showers to wipe the smell of him off of my body. In September,
Personally, I have this thing with my children that I teach them. And for me, I'd rather offend you than to hurt my children. Meaning, you got some people that you're like, oh, I don't want to offend them. Like, I teach my kids, we shake hands, especially my girls, but my boys as well. But we shake hands with uncles. We shake hands with cousins. We shake hands because there's too much going on in the world and you can't trust anybody. People are sick. And it's because parents being naive and trusting people with their children that these kids grow up to resent their parents. Where is the protection? And sometimes, in some cases, the parents know and they're bought off and they turn a blind eye to what's going on for their own personal gain. And again, it's a sad situation. So parents, single moms, single dads, even if you are in a relationship, married, whatever that may be mindful of who you release your children to. Like, we live in a sick world, and Again, these kids are your responsibility. So protect them with everything you got, you know? So I'm going to stop there and we're going to get back to the lecture at hand. So this man basically groomed these young men, and he took them on trips, overnight trips, where they slept in the same bed and engaged in intimate acts, y'all. He gifted them and kept pouring gifts on them as long as they submitted to him. That's just, it's crazy. You know, did the parents not think, first and foremost, why you want to stay overnight with my son? Secondly, what these cost? Like, it's not that serious. It's really not. Like, bro, what you gifted my son? No, no radar went up, no flags. So, one of the young men stated that, again, I want anybody that's close to a cliff to take 3 steps back. If you got a window up, let it down. If you got a window down, let it up. One of the young men stated that this man carried these acts out in the church before and after the sermons. I want to say that again. He acted these acts out, carried these acts out in the church before as well as after his sermons. He was in the same house that his kids, his family, his wife, his children. He carried these same acts out in his house, in hotels, and condos. Whatever he can get off and whenever he was feeling, and it wasn't the spirit. So he would also send explicit pictures. Y'all seen the picture of him in this super tight, extra small bodysuit, red bodysuit with his nipples popping out, and he just, these was the pics he was sending to these young men, in turn wanting another pic back. Got his titty old bitties all out, just all in the, like, come. On that note, this is the same pastor that preached strongly about homosexuality. He was actually on the down low, y'all. And what I refer to men that are on the down low, I call him downstairs. But this bastard, him one downstairs, him was in the attic. He was deep down in there. Now, back to the lecture at hand. So, this man is just somebody that disrespected not only God, he disrespected God's sheep, the parents, the children. And around about 2016, he started to decline. You've seen a difference. God decided to pull the sheep and expose him. Like he started to decline in front of the world. Like, God exposed him in front of everybody. You disrespect me, in turn, I'm gonna return the favor. That same seed that he sowed, God paid him back times in. Won't he do it? Not. Y'all gotta stop playing. Like, the Bible say either be hot or cold, not lukewarm. But most importantly, I want to say to any and everybody out there, be it a single mom, you're in a relationship, you're married, it's only one way to get to God, and that's through Jesus. And I had to do this for myself. I cut the middleman out and I went directly to the connect. Ain't no third parties around here. Like, the church is in me. It's good of fellowship. It is, but at the end of the day, life has just really showed me, like, you can't trust nobody. And not to, confine yourself into a house and not get out. You have to be mindful of, again, the people you let in, as well as the people that you allow to pray for you. I know a lot of people like to get on social media when things go wrong in their lives or someone else's lives and say, y'all pray for me. Stop that. Because He say the prayers of the righteous. You know, some people out here, you got people praying for you that they ain't even getting their own prayers answered. They going to God and they can't even get an answer from God for themselves. How you gonna ask them to go pray for you? Like, we gotta stop being so needy and looking to man to help solve our problems and just wait first and foremost on God. Them that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall rise up on wings like the eagle that soars. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. So wait on the Lord. Seek him with your whole heart. I'm all about relationship. I'm not about religion. I will scream from a mountaintop that I'm down with OPP and get on my knees and praise that man with everything in me. When I turn over in the morning, I don't get my phone and scroll and see what's on social media or check my emails. I give him his time because he didn't have to tap me. I could have not woke up. So every day is a gift from God, and in turn, all he ain't asking for tithe. That's what man say. Like Jesus went around and preached the word and didn't ask for nothing in return. That's deep. Our people perish because of the lack of knowledge. Be not conformed to this world. And what is it to gain the world and lose your soul? It's not worth it. At the end of the day, in 2016, at the age of 63, Eddie Long transitioned over 5 months after revealing to the world. On that note, I hope I inspired somebody. If you have anything to say, we can definitely revisit this conversation. I would love to hear everyone and anyone else's point of view. Listen, this is a no judging zone, and we're all adults here. If you got it on your heart, you might as well say it. You're going to be judged for it anyway. I drop my mic and I land my plane. Bye.